to a greater consciousness. Not that it means that they're special and you know, messiahs. It just means they've opened their mind to what anyone can, higher levels of awareness. So your point of observation of everything changes. That's why they have been ridiculed and or condemned or dismissed throughout history. Because what they are perceiving, what they are decoding, is not being perceived and decoded by the vast majority of people who are still in that closed-minded state. And thus it's like a person talking one language trying to understand a person talking another language. They just don't understand what you're talking about, mate. But what's interesting is as this collective awakening it happens, people are going through the same process. And so more and more people are starting to look at what I'm saying because they're starting to decode the same stuff, and therefore it's starting to make sense to them.
Could you tell us about any of these paranormal experiences? Something that happened recently, for example.
Well, what happened in Peru was a life-changing experience, and funnily enough, the organizers of the return to Peru, you know, a group of people, they've organized it so that my 60th birthday will be celebrated, if you like, in a stone circle in Peru, and it's for a particular reason. After the Betty Shine experience, the old life fell apart. Very soon after, within like 2 months, maybe slightly more, of the meeting with Betty Shine, the BBC announced they weren't going to renew my contracts, so I was out of work. And I could have looked for other media work, but this was telling me, no, there's another road now. And so I didn't. And I spent 1990 basically walking around going, you know, what's happening to me? Trying to get together what was happening and where I was supposed to go, and it was bewildering, really. And but in that period, I put together a book which I called Truth Vibrations. After this vibrational change, I was told was going to come, and demonstrably, it's here now. And then when that went off to the printers in late 1990, I started getting this constant recurring feeling I need to go to Peru. Now, I'd never thought about Peru before. I've seen the football team play in the World Cup, and that was the end of my experience of Peru. But it was so powerful, and by now, and this was a big thing that happened after the Betty Shine experience, was that my intuition was now governor. When this said, what you doing? What you doing? And this said, you've got to do this, you need to do this, I need to do this. Then this would always decide action and direction. And that's been the same to this minute. Because this intuition knows, this thinks and tries to work it out. This knows because it's accessing a much more expanded level of awareness and consciousness than this is. And so when you look at people, so many people, because of the fear, it's interesting, as we keep talking, all these different strands come together and connect. The fear of what other people think gets people to deny and suppress their intuitive knowing. I just know I've got to do this. I just know I need to go there. You can't do that. What will people think if you? And so again, being cleared out of that fear of what other people thought allowed this to take center stage in the direction of my life. And so the intuition said go to Peru. So purely on that, I got on a plane to Peru in February 1991. And I had no idea why I was going, except I knew I had to go. And it's a long story, an amazing story, but from the moment I landed, strange things started to happen. Like someone would walk out the crowd to me, which they did, because, you know, Lima Airport at like 6 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning, or 5 o'clock in the morning, I think it was when I arrived, was just packed with people. And I'm standing there, I've got off a plane from America, and I'm thinking, what now? Why am I here? That's how it was done. And then this person just walks out, this fellow walks out through this mass of people and said, where you go? And the only thing I'd read about before I came out, this happened very quickly, was Cusco in the Andes, the center of the Inca civilization. So I'm thinking, Cusco. I said, Cusco. And there was a plane going, and it was going to take off in about, I don't know, half an hour, maybe 40 minutes after I arrived. So I'm thinking, I'm never going to get that. He said, I get you a ticket. No, he said to me, have you got a ticket? No, I get you a ticket. Do you have a hotel? No, I get you a hotel. And off he goes. Of course, he's on a commission. And so then he gets me this ticket, and there's this massive queue for the Cusco flight. And I go to the back, being English, and he said, no, follow me. And he took me down the front of the queue, and his friend was checking people in, and he checked me in next. I was like, what? So less than an hour after I arrived in Lima, I'm walking across the tarmac to get on a plane to Cusco. And from that moment on, this whole synchronistic series of events happened. For instance, when I got to Cusco, I'm now in the hotel, I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, well, what now? And someone had said to me, if you need any help in Peru, this is a friend of mine, give them a call. So I called them, and because they worked in a local travel agency in Cusco. And they said, well, come and see me. And I went to see them, and they said they then got on the phone organizing all my travel, Machu Picchu and all this stuff for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. She said, you need a guide. So I've got just the one, picks up the phone, talking in a language I didn't understand, and then I went round to see this guy the next morning, and we were going to go off, and he was going to take me around Peru. He was a professional Peruvian guide, with all the Peruvian clothes you would expect. And I went round to his home to join up with him the next morning, and I knocked the door. There was no answer, and I pushed the door, and it opened. So I walked into. I'm looking, and there he is. He's not in bed. He's asleep on the floor, with his hat on and his blanket. And he looks up at me, and he said, not hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. He said, do you have any dreams last night? Thinking, what? And fully enough, I'd had this absolutely vivid dream the night before that one of these two middle front teeth had fallen out. So I told him. He said, is your father or grandfather still alive? I said, yeah, my father is, yeah. I said, why? He said, because that's often symbolic of your grandfather or father dying. Next time I got a phone call to England, a few days later, the father had died back in England. In fact, the funeral had happened before I even realized he died, because once you get into the wilds of Peru, the communication with Britain, forget it. And well, in those days anyway. And so we go around. We go to Machu Picchu. We go to all these places, and eventually we come to a place called Puno in southern Peru. And he was organizing all the stuff in league with this travel agency, and they booked us into this hotel called the Siustani. And Siustani is an Inca ruin, about an hour and a half's drive from Puno. And because it's named after this ruin, there's pictures of it all over the hotel. And every time I looked at these pictures, something was saying, you need to go there, you need to go there, you need to go there, you need to go there. So I said to this Peruvian guide, I want to go there. And it was a kind of funny sequence throughout this trip with him, because every day this would say, you need to do this. And I'd say, I need to go there. And every day he would tell me it wasn't possible. And every day we'd end up there. And it was the same with Siustani. Anyway, so we get in. He said we have to hire this bus, this little bus. Well, actually, he didn't. He could get a cab, but I learned later. But obviously, he took some money for that. Fair enough. And me, him, and the tourist bus driver go out to Siustani. And it's this completely, or virtually uninhabited, there are some houses, but not many, area. And there's a hill with all the ruins on top. And then there's like a lagoon around it. It's beautiful. And then if you look in any direction, there's distant mountains. And there was no one there except 2 children with a llama for tourist photographs, so there were no tourists apart from me. And I went up and I walked around the ruin, and it was lovely, it was beautiful and nice, but at the end, after about an hour, I'm thinking, it was great, but it did not match the urge this was telling me I had to go to that place. So anyway, I got back in the bus with me and the driver and the guide, and I was quite disappointed, really. I thought, I expected something different, more, given the urge I had. So we're driving away, and about 3 minutes down the road, I'm looking out the window, and I'm just kind of daydreaming, as I do a lot. And then I see this hill, mound, whatever you want to call it, to my right, and I'm looking at it. And as I was looking at it, all I could hear in my head was, come to me, come to me, come to me, come to me. And you think that mound's talking to me, this is crazy. What's happening to my life? So I said to the guy, could you stop the bus? I want to go up that mound. I said, I won't be long. And I was quite a time, actually. And I walked up the mound to the top, and I couldn't see it from the road. But when I got to the top, there was this big stone circle, which I'm going to go back to. And it's like, whoa, stone circle. And I walked into the middle of it. And over there was Siustani, just across the way, distant mountains, and then all this, pretty much uninhabited land as far as the eye could see. And I walked to the center of the circle, and I got the feet again. I got like the burning in the feet, like some magnetism was pulling my feet down, like in the news bookshop in Ryde down the road here. And then 2 very clear, again, strong thoughts, voice, whatever you like, went through my head. The first one said, they'll be talking about this 100 years from now. And the second one was, it will be over when you feel the rain. And I'm looking up at a cloudless Peruvian sky with a piercing sun, and I'm hearing in my head, my mind, it will be over when you feel the rain. It just seemed to be the conclusion, the climax of the ludicrous direction my life had gone. There's no way. What do you mean it'll be over when you feel the rain? Anyway, what I was feeling as I was standing there was like a drill going into the top of my head, through my body into the ground. I was feeling another flow coming back and out the top of my head. And then my arms went out at 45 degrees, like that, without me making any decision to do it. And you can't hold your shoulders like that, I can't anyway, for very long before they start to ache. But mine were like that for, must have been